people say the chip. Man, it wasn't a chip. Really was. What it was for me now at 42 years old, after what we all been through, I just didn't have anything, man. Right. And when you wake up and you don't have shit, your mentality, you're fucking hungry.
What's going on, guys? This is Chris Weidman. I appreciate you guys checking out my channel and the latest episode of my podcast, Won't Back Down. I have a great show planned for today, but before we begin, I want to tell you about my show's presenting sponsor, BioXcellerator. BioXcellerator is the world leader in stem cell therapy and regenerative medical research. Through the use of their powerful golden stem cells, they help patients heal from joint and orthopedic injuries, autoimmune disorders, spine and disc damage, and neurological trauma. I went down to Medellin, Colombia, and I got my stem cells, and honestly, I feel great. My leg is improving every single day, and it takes about 6 months to get full effect from the stem cells, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the future. Thanks again to BioXcellerator for helping sponsor this show and create my show, Won't Back Down, which is also available on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. I am here with Steve Smith, one of the greatest of all time when it comes to wide receivers in the NFL. You weren't the biggest. You weren't maybe the fastest. You were definitely fast, so I don't want to come at you with that. But not the fastest. But you still became one of the greatest of all time because, in my view, and from what I hear from most people, is your heart, your determination, like this chip that you had on your shoulder, this mean streak. Every practice was like a game for you. Yeah. Where did that come from?
That's a great question. It's interesting because I just got back home. I just got back to Charlotte from home. Unfortunately, watching my Utah Utes slip away and lose to Ohio State.
Close game?
Man, we was up 21-0 and we lost by 3. It ended up being 48, I think 48-45.
Damn.
Right. Damn. And but I took my oldest son out there with me and we watched the game, but we had stayed away from the team hotel. I didn't stay with the team because I kind of wanted to just have this father and son time and just me and him. And so they stayed, the team hotel was in downtown and we stayed probably it was like 20 minutes from the team hotel. And so I had the opportunity to drive through some areas that I grew up in to show my boy. And then we end up stopping. You've been to LA, of course, I'm assuming. And
yes,
the little mom and pops, whether it's the burger stands or the taco stands.
Yep.
Right. Or you got the ones that are selling tacos, burgers, all encompassing, right?
Yes.
And man, we stopped and grabbed something to eat. And we just sat out there, and it was on Pico Boulevard, like right before we get to now they call it obviously the crypto centers downtown, and downtown is, it's totally different than when it was when I was living back home in Los Angeles. And we were sitting there eating some tacos, and I was looking around and I was smiling. And my son was looking around and he's like, "What are you smiling at?" And so when we finally got back in the car, I was driving back and I just said, when I was sitting there, I was remembering I had went to this taco stand when I was younger, when I was riding the bus and stuff. And I always wondered, is this the best my life is going to be? Right? Am I always going to be on the bus? Am I always going to be grinding? Am I always going to be struggling? Am I always going to be looking for a meal, the cheapest and the cheapest meal that I can get that can fill me up? And what was really, really cool is I'm with my 24-year-old son who's kicking tail and taking names. He lives here in Charlotte, works for a financial firm, just got a pay raise, blah, blah, blah. But he goes, Dad, I was sitting there thinking, I wonder what it would be like to live like this. And it was interesting because I was saying, remembering when I lived that way, and he's going, I don't know how you made it. And it was generation. It's a generational conversation. Pop, son, poor. Well, my man ain't never had a need, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so just that contrast. And so the long-winded answer to that is basically for me, and my mom and my pops, and they worked their ass off, right? They were in the rat race every single day. And, people say the chip, man, it wasn't a chip. Really was. What it was for me now at 42 years old, after what we all been through, I just didn't have anything, man, right? And when you wake up and you don't have shit, your mentality, you're fucking hungry. And when I say hungry, I'm not talking about hungry and, physically. I'm just talking about like you're going, I don't want to live this way every single day for the next 50 years like this. It's exhausting. It's discouraging. It's tough. It builds up so much hardness in your heart where you look at everybody with what is your angle, and genuine friends, you keep at arm's length. And so for me, where did it come from is, and it came from, and there's a lot of guys out there that play ball or didn't play ball that had it worse than me, just like an injury that like you've sustained. When you're poor or when you're injured, that injury feels like it's the worst injury that could possibly happen until the next injury.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
When you're hungry, when you're poor, when you're struggling, that day is the worst day until the next time you get back to the bottom.
Yeah.
And for me, as I was so far at the bottom, I wasn't willing to necessarily kill people to get there, but I did things that I sit back now and I'm ashamed of. Like a quick story, I grew up in Utah. Me and my wife had, our oldest, and I woke up one day and we had like 2 diapers. We didn't have any food. And so I went to this grocery store, took the license plate off the car, and basically stole a car full of groceries. Mm. And last August, I went back to that grocery store and I paid that money back to the store.
That's awesome.
Right? But bro, that was 20 years ago. It took me 20 years to do that.
That is crazy. It gave me chills. I got kids too. And, obviously I grew up in a tougher neighborhood and went through, more tough situations than my kids could ever imagine. But what made you great is that. Like, what made you great is all those things that you went through. Is that something that you tried to instill into your kids?
No.
Because they didn't have those experiences, right?
Bro, so, I wish I didn't, because what it made me great on the football field, it fucked up my personal life. Right? It makes you very callous. It makes you look at everybody sideways. Right? Like, somebody come up to me and I'm like, what do they want? Mm. I was at the game and some dude bumped up to me and he felt like he was trying to go for my wallet. And he was actually trying to get a picture. I said, hey, man, back up, dog. Like, I said, back up, man. You gonna get put to sleep now. Yeah. And he's like, sorry. And I was like, man, you just, and there's times where less and less on edge, but it's hard to relax when you've been in a world where, man, relaxing to get your life together. Relaxing, like I was telling my son, is like, man, we'd be eating at that taco shop, and man, you'd be with your boys, or you'd be solo, or you'd be with maybe one friend, and somebody sees you, and then they roll up, and you gotta decide, man, do I fight this individual, or do I try to de-escalate it? But if you try to de-escalate, you get your ass whooped, and they take your lunch, right? So to turn that light switch on at any moment, man, you start to live that, right? There is no off switch, right? And so for me, I never took, it's taken me a long time to even take compliments, right? Even from my wife, she'll give me a compliment, man, I'll speed bump through it like she never even said it, right?
Yeah. So at what point, when did you start trying to change that about you? And when did you start like identifying that in yourself as something that you got to like improve on?
Probably I had a sports psychologist, so that was good. That helped me with sports. I had it before it was in, and then near the end of my career, I started doing counseling. And now that I'm done, I do counseling, right? Just to get through some of the things that, a 10, 12, 14-year-old kid shouldn't be having to deal with, right? At 12, 13, 14, man, I was doing stuff and had responsibilities that a 20-year-old should have, I was washing dishes. I was washing dishes on a stool when I was in kindergarten, first grade.
Damn.
Right? My mom put me on a stool to wash dishes. She said, we don't need no dishwasher. You the dishwasher.
Gotcha.
Right? High school, middle school, mom used to work. So I would, I had to cook dinner for when we got home. I had to cook dinner for me and my brother every night. So I had to do that. And then I had to clean the kitchen as well after. On the weekends, I had to clean. In the morning, I would clean the kitchen, mop the floor, and then at dinner. So every meal, if my mom made us a meal, I had to clean the kitchen, right? I knew I knew how to iron. I know how to sew. Like I could sew a button on if I need to. If there's a hole in the shirt, I can sew that up, needle and thread. So to being able to do it, at such a young age, at 20, at 40, 20, 30 years old, so it's beneficial. But, I remember one time my mom came to a game, a baseball game, and she was upset because I didn't clean the dishes. And like, I'm on the sideline and she's like, come here. There's a black man. Get your ass over here. Get over here. And she came over there. You didn't clean the dishes. And I'm like, now I'm 42. So I'm like, I'm at a baseball game, Man, moms didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
She want those damn dishes clean.
Was your dad around or no?
What you say?
Was your dad around or no?
Yeah, hell, my dad was the coach.
Oh, really? So he was supportive of your sports and everything, athletics.
He was, but he was also, man, like, I guess, like my dad was like one of those guys. I was in the I'll drop a pass in high school, man, and he'd be like, "Get him out."
He wants you benched.
Yeah, like, man, catch the ball. Okay. Man, so but my dad was super. Sports was big in my family, so sports is big in our family. But I try to let's see, my oldest, I screwed it up with him with sports, but the other two now. My 16-year-old and my 7-year-old. Now, when they go to the game, I just be like, "Good job. What do you want to eat?" Right?
Just chilling out, try and make it a good time.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how'd you mess it up with your oldest?
Man, when you make it, you know the pedigree, so you're trying to get him to make it,
Yeah.
right? So he played soccer. He was a hell of a soccer player, but he didn't have the same work ethic as me, but it was different. He worked, he just did it differently, and so I screwed that up a little bit. But he's come back around and says, I get it, and so it was good. But it was one of those. We joke around a lot, but he was our guinea pig, right? He was.
Yeah. Well, you guys had him pretty young, right?
Yeah.
So you guys were figuring it out at an early age.
Man, shit, we still trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's no science to it. There's no instruction manual, because I've seen guys who are super successful that have had those parents that are on them and all over them at every practice, every game, and saying things that you don't think they should be saying to their kid.
Yeah.
And the kid ends up making it. I think the majority of the time they probably don't, but still every once in a while you see it be successful. And then you also see the other way where parents are kind of just chill out. The parents don't even realize what kind of sport their kid is doing. Yeah. And the kid ends up making it. And obviously some people don't. So it's hard to figure out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I struggle. I got a 10-year-old son that it's a struggle. He's athletic, but athleticism only takes you so far. You got to work hard, and things came easy for him, and then you get video games, and I'm like, man, I want to instill, good habits in them early. And in order to do that, you got to push them. But you also know you don't want to be pushing them. They're going to have to figure it out on their own. And it comes down to passion. I don't know. This is a constant battle of figuring out the best way to handle kids, for sure.
Yeah, it is. I can't help you. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your older one's doing good, man. So
man, I'm so proud of him. So proud of what he's doing, how he's doing it. He's a cool kid. He's a cool kid.
That's awesome. Tell me about. You went to junior college first, which is a rare thing because most of the time I went to junior college too, and I had bad grades. I didn't pass Division I clearinghouse, so most of the kids that go to junior college don't make it out of junior college. You know what I mean? Because they stay in the same town that they grew up in. They're around the same friends, the same influences that got them those bad grades to go to junior college, and unless they make a change in themselves, it's hard to get out of there. And make it to Division I. Tell me about that experience for you.
Man, junior college was a great opportunity for me. I actually had dyslexia, and because of that, at that time, you're talking about in the 90s, it was ADHD didn't really have ADHD had the stigma, right? ADHD is kind of like how mental health was a couple of years ago, where it was like something's wrong with that kid, right?
Yeah.
And so what they did for me is they just put me in special ed classes. And so I was in special ed classes, but I was killing it because I wasn't special ed. I just needed a little bit of slowing down the curriculum for me. And so to be kind of put in those classes my junior year, I was kind of stuck. And so I started to sophomore year, I kind of felt like I was just kind of left alone and just kind of abandoned. I remember I was in ninth grade and I was in ninth grade, and they said, actually eighth grade, they had put me in remedial English. And the teacher said, does anybody have a problem with this class? It's remedial English. And I was so far behind and I didn't even really know what it was. I didn't know. I was like, man, I'm good. It's English. Yeah. But I didn't know what it was. And so I just, I always had, education-wise, I was always deficient. And until I really got into high school and really started to take ownership, and then my mom actually put me with an organization called the Urban League, and my grades increased and changed, and I was able to understand time management. understand some of my deficiencies and how I can do it and how I could overcome it. And by the time I figured it out, I was a senior in high school, graduating on time. And so for me, junior college was really the only path because I didn't take the SAT. I didn't really have a lot of resources economically. We didn't have any money, right? So junior college was my path, and I already was told by people that I wasn't going to make it anyway. And so I was determined to do it. And so just to, corporate America uses this a lot. And they say, bet on me, bet on yourself. Entrepreneurs and business folks, I kind of giggle at because I don't have a degree. All I have is life experiences. And I see you can have a degree, you can have this, and you can check all the boxes, but but the life experiences and the business experiences you've conjured up your statistics on how good you actually are. And you're willing to bet on yourself as an employee to elevate yourself to different organizations. For me, betting on myself was, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm going to be the CEO of my own company. And so what I did, when I got a scholarship to Utah, I didn't take math all of junior college. I had to test out. Guess when the test is? The last week of school. And you find out by testing out, if you pass, you graduate and go to scholarship. What you think I did? I tested out.
Yeah.
I bet it on me. Everybody else was in there, and I was in there like, man, I'm about to get what I need to get. What do I need? A 26? A 21 out of 30? All right. Right.
So you did have confidence, like a hidden confidence when it came to academics and like your intelligence, even though you didn't have like the most positive reinforcement with it at that point.
Man, for a long time, even people now even say it when I do TV, they go, oh, he's not very smart. And I used to believe I wasn't smart. Bro, I stopped believing what other people say. Like people all the time, like, man, he can't speak, he can't do this, and he's not very good on TV. And what I really laugh at is that direct deposit says us well. That direct deposit and that contract that I got says, we like you.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just, so for me, like in JC, so I tested out, I passed, and I went on University of Utah, and it's all said, but I really, my confidence is in my preparation, right? And my confidence builds as I go over things in my mind, right? For me, it starts my heart, my head, and I go over it. And then when I'm ready, sometimes I was talking to a buddy, he was like, man, well, I need to do this. I should have did this 3 weeks ago. And I told him, well, if you were thinking about it 3 weeks ago, you weren't ready to do what you did today 3 weeks ago because you were using those 3 weeks to formulate your plan to be able to execute it. And so that's how I am. I'm very visual. I'm a pen and paper guy. I write everything down. I highlight, I circle, I visualize. Give me an ink pen, a notepad, and a calculator, and I will figure out some stuff.
Yeah. I got a question for you. So I talked to your boy, Graham Gano. He was your teammate for a little bit. He lives in my community. And I mean, he said out of everybody he's ever been on a team with, you're one of his, favorite teammates he ever had because you would keep people accountable. If you didn't like somebody, they knew you didn't like them. But if you did like someone, they knew you liked them and you had their back. They just knew you were a loyal dude and you're going to have their back. And then they had your back at the same time. He also said you're one of the biggest freaks he's ever seen. Same thing with Jed, as freak athleticism.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
You guys should pause with that. When two men are talking and you ask another man if he's a freak, you gotta.
I gotta put athleticism on that.
Yeah, that's a tech. One of those. Another one, you're gonna be out the game.
My question is, all these dudes saying that you're super athletic, you're this freak athlete. Did you always see yourself as that, or do you feel like it was more like hard work and like things that you did mentally, and just the work that you put in over time to get that praise?
I think it was both. It's really hard to kind of say, like, now it's frowned upon, as older former player, you say, oh, this is what I used to do. You don't want to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
But, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were asking me about my regimen off season. And as I was talking to him, I was connecting the dots. And me and you use the same workout guy, right?
Yeah.
And so the things that I did with Jed, he would tell me that now that I'm done, he can't do that with other guys, right? So yes, some of it was genetics and gifts, and then some of it was also too my genetics and my gifts. Also, I pushed myself, so I was always pushing myself as well. So, like, I can jump out the gym. So we would put a weight vest on to jump out the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I would do an hour workout with Jed, and probably the first 50 minutes of the workout would be I'll have this 15-pound weight vest on through the whole workout.
Yeah.
Go in the bathroom, puke, come back out, gargle some water, and finish the cardio.
Yeah.
Right. And he'd be like, right. I would literally go in the bathroom, puke, and then finish the workout. And he'd look at me like, are you serious? Right. But then there was other times I would do the workout and I wasn't feeling it that day. And I'm like, I'm done, dog.
Yeah.
He'd be like, what you mean? Man, I'm fucking finished, bro. I'm done. He's like, so what are you going to do? I'm going to take my ass home. I'll see your ass tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And he'll be like, because I knew my body. I knew sometimes today ain't going to work. Right?
Yeah.
But he would tack on those 30 minutes. If I were 15 minutes in and I quit, he'd be like, cool. All right. When we doing it again, I'll say it was a Wednesday. I'll say, all right, I'll come back Friday. He was like, cool. You got extra time. So he would tack on the extra 45 minutes from that Friday that I didn't do. He was like, oh, no, you ain't shortcutting.
Yeah, Jed does not play.
Right?
He won't feel bad for you.
No.
That's one thing with him. He'll be killing me. I'll be on the floor kind of rolling around after some exercise that he made me do. And I'll make it like I'm crying. I'll look up and he's just walking to the next exercise. He's not even there looking at me anymore. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. He doesn't feel bad for me at all. And I get up and just follow him.
But I wouldn't. He'd be like, come on. I'd be like, no, I'll get there.
Yeah.
I'll get there tomorrow. I'll get there. Hey, Steve. I used to tell him, hey, bro, you took that check. What I do with my time is what I do with my time.
That is hysterical. Yeah, nah, he's a freaking beast.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. With that, I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to put to kind of draw a conclusion on like freak athleticism versus hard work.
You got to have both, though. Here's why. And you've seen it in your sport. I think Conor McGregor is a great example. When, as you get older, there are parts of your game that is going to change, right? That when you're young and freakish athletic, from the shoulders below, you can make up for any deficiencies from the shoulders up. Because I went to Utah and I had some good coaches, I knew playing in Utah, man, we're going to Wyoming. Josh Allen has come from Wyoming, but no real superstars have come from Wyoming, right? And so playing Wyoming, Air Force, Colorado State, like there's some guy, every blue moon they get some players, right? Back in the 90s. So we had, especially Air Force. If you played Air Force, if you had a trick play, you had to execute it and be precise, because you cannot run that trick play on them again, because they are military. They do not make mistakes twice. And so understanding the game was always important at Utah because of the schemes that teams we were playing. We weren't playing like Ohio State, where you can have an okay scheme, but you have so many great athletes that the athleticism makes the scheme look good.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Utah, you got to know both. And so when I came into the league, I understood how to play ball. I understood I had to master my craft, but also had athleticism that I still was figuring out too, right? You got to think about it. I'm 5'9", 187, 192 pounds. My measurements are, I got double XL hand size. I got a size 12.5 shoe. And I got the wingspan of a 6'2", right? 6'2" wide receiver, right? And I'm a 42 in coat, but I'm a 44 regular because of my length of my arms, right? So I'm ass backwards, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm really a 34, 32 waist, but because of my thighs, I'm a 36 in pants.
Yeah.
Right. But then my calves, I'm a 17, I think it was like 16, 17 and a half in my calves. Right. So some of my custom suits, I had to get, like, my left leg was bigger than my right. And so I had to, they had to do just all those little nuances. Right.
Yeah.
So structurally, I'm technically, even in the health department, I'm considered obese, 5'9", almost 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff. So I always I had to know the game. I had to know what's going on. I had to know my measurements. I had to know my body type, right? Also, my family structure, my mom's side and my dad's side, type 2 diabetes is prevalent, right? So all of those things are in factor. I couldn't wear contacts, but I actually still to this day wear glasses. My right eye, I think my left eye is weaker than my right. So like I wear glasses and my left eye is like I got this like bifocal, and then my right eye it's almost like it's not even really a prescription. So I had all these deficiencies that I had to stay on top of, right? And so I understood learning health, learning the game for me, and it was the only way I was going to make it. And so I learned so much about myself and health and all that stuff to the point of where it wasn't just a lifestyle, man. It was the only way I was going to maintain it and keep it.
Gotcha. What was your thing heading into these practices and into these games? Was it a competition with yourself? Were you trying to just become the best version of yourself every single day?
Yeah.
Was there goals that you wanted to hit?
There was goals that I had, daily goals, short term, 3 to 6 month goals, year goals, lifetime goals, right? I had all these things, but on game day, man, I just want to murk the dude in front of me. That's it.
Yeah.
Just like I just had no. I respected a guy. I respected every guy I went against. However, I played a guy like I had no respect for.
It's like a fight. It's a very similar mindset that you want to go into a fight with. You have to respect your opponent, but at the end of the day, you cannot over-respect them. You got to know that you're going to dominate him.
I respected my opponent, and people say, "Well, how did you respect it?" The difference how I respected my opponent was my off-season training with Jed was there because of how I respected my opponent. Now, once my offseason ended and we got into the season and I had my routine and my training in offseason said, I respect you enough to train to kick your ass during the season and show you no respect while I do it.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next year I would do the same thing because I had a whole new guys that I had to line up against, opponents that I had to study and know. And so that's what it was. I respected you so much that I trained to be able to not respect you when we were on the field.
Yeah.
So my fear was like if my fear was February, March, April, May, June, July, motherfucker, August come. Oh, buckle up, Buttercup. I'm about to do you wrong.
I love it. What you were a big trash talker. Like what like how much thought and how much art was in your trash talk? Or were you just out there having fun?
So my mom is one of 13. Okay. And I have 4 kids. So my aunts and uncles each averaged 2.7. We averaged like 3. So between my grandmother, my mother, me, and my kids, there are 65 of us alive and kicking.
Damn.
Right? So you can imagine, and you add the ethnicity of things, you add the prejudice of things of like the barbecues, dominoes, keno, spade, tonk, rummy, all of that stuff. I watched my family play dominoes and my aunts and uncles talk mad. Like my aunt calling my uncle a bleepity bleep, my uncle calling my aunt bleepity bleep, get your ass off this table, right? To where in my family, if you couldn't count, you weren't allowed to play dominoes. You weren't allowed to play cards. But when you learn how to count, you were open season. So man, about 14 years old, I'm on the spades and dominoes table playing with 40, 50-year-old men who've been smoking, who've been drinking. Man, they don't care. They calling you stupid and you giving up the booty like that, and all that stuff. So for me, I just grew up around it. So when you started playing sports and you look at a dude in his eye, you can see the fear. And then, and you doing them wrong. And then all of a sudden you say something and you could kind of see him deflate. And then it just became this thing where I saw my uncle talking to my aunt. I saw my aunt talking to my uncle. And she said this, and I saw that fear or that unconfident look in his eye because I'm a people watcher. And I also started to watch and see. And I started to see it in other people. So you start to pick it up. And then all of a sudden when you're playing and you start saying something, and when I was 12, I saw my aunt say that to my uncle. And I saw how he put that card back in his hand. He doubted himself. So if I can make that, if I know my uncle Tim or my uncle Ronald, who's very confident, doubt himself. Man, I know this Willie Lunch Meat. I know this dude. I've seen this before. So if my uncle doubts himself and he doubts himself, I got him, just like my aunt got my uncle.
Yeah.
And so it starts playing this game where it became routine for me to talk. Because when I talked, but if a guy talked to me and got me riled up, I would actually focus harder. Like I was one of those guys, if you made it personal, that was a mistake. Because now my laser focusedness, it sends me back to, I'm back at the taco stand and I see this dude come across and I know I got to turn this light switch on because I can't get my ass whooped and lose my lunch money.
Was that part of it also like this dude has not gone through what I've gone through. He didn't have those experiences that I've had. And it gave you an extra confidence to deal with that, like those mental hurdles with trash talking.
Man, it was for me. I didn't never really talk about dudes, family, and that stuff. I would just look at him like, bro, you're not very good, right? And I'm a dog cusser, and or I would a lot of times I would like I catch the ball, spin it, and I would say, I don't know why they think you can. They allowed this dude to cover me today. I would say that. And I would be talking to myself out loud.
Yeah.
And he happened to be there, but I really wasn't really talking to him. I was talking about him. He got to hear what I was saying. And then I line up, oh, and he'd be like, oh, is that how you feel? I'm like, who you talking to? Oh, that's how you feel? I said, bro, that's what's going on. And you're about to catch another one too. Come on up here and press me, bitch. Come on up here and press me.
I love it.
Right. And so it was just different. Right. And so sometimes I would but what's crazy is Jed would tell you, I would have those same dialogues with myself. We're like, what we doing? Oh, we're not going to show up today. Right. And Jed would be like, uh-oh. Right. And so having those conversations. So it was part of who I was, and it was part of me. And it was something that I would challenge myself in front of an individual. Like say, hypothetically, me and you're fighting and you hit me in the face. And I'm like, oh, so he's just going to try to hit you today like that. And he think you're not going to hit him back. And so now I would come back at you like with a haymakers, and you'll be like, oh, your trainer will be like, here it comes. But the thing is I would be willing to bet that you will hit me. You may hit me 10 times and I'll hit you 10 times, but I'm betting when I hit you 10 times that you're going to feel 7 of those that's going to make you go uncle versus you hitting me, I'm going to eat those and I'm going to eat them. But I want to see, can you outlast me? Like if you want to stand up and square and punch, let's drop dogs. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. And so that's how I would like if I was, UFC, that's what I would do. It's like, all right, I'm not grappling. Let's go. We're gonna sit in the middle of the octagon, punch for punch. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's abnormal. That's not what they want. And so for me, that's what I would do. I'm willing to bet that I can eat more punches, but I'm also willing to bet I'm gonna sock you in your face a lot harder than you're gonna hit me.
Yeah. And you're gonna go further. You're willing to take more damage than they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was there any cornerbacks that you matched up with that you felt like was on that same level as you?
Oh, it was a ton of guys. Oh, it was a ton of guys. Man, it was Revis, Talib. It was a ton of guys, right? But it ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You just got to play.
Yeah. Who's the best cornerback you feel like? Toughest cornerback all around?
I mean, Champ Bailey.
How do you compare Champ Bailey and Revis?
I don't know, because I played both of them at different phases of my career. But at the end of the day, they were both hell of a corners.
Yeah.
Right? To say which one is better, they both made me watch a lot of film.
Gotcha.
Right? There's some guys I already knew I didn't have to watch film. I just knew what things I need to watch out for. With Revis, Champ, and some of those other guys, I had to watch film because they were always evolving themselves. There was always something new that I had to be careful of. Richard Sherman, guys like that, I had to pay attention to. Right? Versus some of the other guys where it was like, all right, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. All right, here it comes. Okay, they did it. All right, now you do this. And there were some guys that I knew the routine, right?
So in fighting, film study is a big thing. Some people, there's all different theories on how to deal with this. Some people like to watch a lot of film and be super scientific and, know everything that guy's doing from, the way his mannerisms are in interviews to, different things that he does in fights. And then other guys are they don't really like to even watch any film because they just want to focus on what they're going to do. And they don't want to over-respect this guy in any position. Where were you when it comes to film, studying film?
Studying film for me was to tell me, because I believed every year there was a different habit each player has to break, right? I'm assuming UFC, you can fight a guy last year that he made who he is who he is to the core. But every year there's a new habit to break or a new mistake that they're making. And
Yep.
so when I watch film, I was looking at that. What mistakes are they making this year compared to what they didn't do last year? Right.
Gotcha.
In the NFL, you can be in a certain, like in the NFC and the AFC, sometimes you would only play a guy. Like say I got injured one year and we were playing at the time, the San Diego Chargers, who are now the Los Angeles Chargers. In the NFC, if I got hurt that year and didn't play him, man, I wouldn't play him for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. So I would have to watch film because I would be playing a dude or a team that the last time I saw him, hell, I had 2 kids.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I'm playing them now. I got 3 kids. Right. I played him in Baltimore. I got 4 kids, and I got and one of my oldest is off in college.
Yeah, that's
right.
Crazy.
So I watch film to see mannerisms, but also habits, scheme. And then really, I would watch the sequence of a game as well to see how do they handle success against an opponent, but also when they get beat, how do they respond? What do they do? Right? If I watch the corner get beat, there's some corners I watch them. If they're off coverage and you beat them, the next play, they're going to pressure. They are going to pressure. So I will watch that. So there were times if I beat a guy, when I line up, I say, come on. I know you want to press. Come on up here and press me. Come on. And they would be like,
second guess themselves.
They're second guess themselves. And that's when I got you. If you second guess yourself, that means now you doubt yourself. Ooh, doubting yourself with me, that's like going to the bank. I'm in a car with you. You talking about how much money you got, and it says insufficient funds. Oh, buddy.
I like that.
We gonna talk about you, right?
Yeah. So I think it was 2005, you broke your leg, right? Is it 2005?
The year before. Yeah.
So 2004, you broke your leg, and then so you were out for the season, and then and this is before you really became Steve Smith that everybody knew of, right? Like you didn't really make it yet. You were playing for the Panthers, but you weren't like the number 1 receiver or anything like that.
I was getting there. I was there.
You're on your way there. You killed it with like special teams beforehand, right? And then moving on, like so once you got injured, you came back the next year and had the best season of your career. Tell me about that whole transition and how did you make that happen?
Well, that's when that was about a year and a half before I met Jed. Year and a half. So I broke my leg 2004 after we got it, after 2004, after we lost to the Tom Brady and New England Patriots in the Super Bowl 2003. And 2002 is actually when I met Jed. So I started training with Jed. 2004, started to see the benefits, broke my leg, and then I had that whole off season, and then I got with Jed, and we were going. And then after that, I just kept maintaining, and we just kind of tweaked. We tweaked my routine based on health-wise, based on how I was feeling, how it was, and so and that's kind of how it went. And so I trained with Jed from like 2002 until I tore my Achilles in 2014. So I was with Jed that whole time. And we started our whole routine, which was after the season, I would take a month off, and that month off, it was bad because I would just eat. I wouldn't do anything, and so about right after Valentine's Day, I would go with Jed, and we would go once a week, and I'll start going. And I'd be so out of shape because I would go from working through the season to not doing anything for 30 days.
Yeah. Yep.
30 or 45 days. I would go to, I'd go to, man, one time I went to Australia and for 2 weeks, like come back. And I was like, let's get out. Let's go work out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so starting February, once a week, then we'll build it up to twice a week. Then in March, we're hitting it 3 times a week. And in April, we're getting it. Excuse me. And then May, we're getting it. Taper off. We'll have OTA mini camps. So about a week before mini camp, we'll ease off. Then I'll go. And then June, I'm killing it. Right after June is over, OTAs, optional team activities, I'll take about 3 weeks off. We'll go back home. We'll travel with the fam. And then come July, I would go like the 20th of June till about a week and a half before training camp. And then right before training camp starts, he would give me some light stuff. And then I would go into the season ready to go. And that was the routine. Every year, every time. I would go, family, we go on trips. Summertime, we go somewhere. I have 3 weeks off, and then we got to be back in town because Dad got to get to work. And that would be the routine. And I did that all the time, every time. And so by 2005, 2006, and kept going, that was a routine, right? And then the routine was heart rate monitor through the workout to make sure that my heart rate wasn't getting too high, because I would use the heart rate monitor during the game, right? And he would see it. I had a polar, and he would see my, how high my heart rate would get. And then we would simulate that. So simulating it would look like my heart rate early on would never get past like 150, 160. And as I got closer to the season, my heart rate, he would allow it to increase, because during the season, my heart rate would get up after a big play. My heart rate would be up 205 up to 225.
Damn.
And so being able to do that, I knew how many calories I would burn, which equaled out to, I would lose about 7 pounds after every game. I would burn between 35 to 4,500 calories a game.
Wow.
Max heart rate be 225, 215, down to 130. So I would be in the huddle looking at my heart rate, doing my breathing to get my heart rate down. And so we simulated how to manipulate my heart rate to get it down so I can be able to go as frequently and high intensity as possible. But during those little 25 seconds, I would have to do breathing to get my heart rate down to be able to do that, right? To be able to maintain and I also found out when I sweat, I lose a lot of sodium more than normal people. So my sodium intake in a healthy way, not artificially, was key. Switch to organic. Just all these little things, supplements, magnesium, how I slept, the supplements that I would take, natural homeopathic supplements, zinc, all of that stuff, man. It was something that was very, very important, and I felt it helped me. It probably couldn't have, but the finished product says it's pretty good. And now, same thing, right? My wife is big on it. Vitamin C powder, zinc, all this stuff that that we have, that my wife is really good on. To the point of where we feed our dog raw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was doing her food last night. What her food last night, what she had today was ground beef, green tripe, beef hearts, beef kidney, liver, turkey neck, kale, goat milk, vitamin C, vitamin D,
This is the
B12.
dog for the
This
dog?
is dog, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys love
And
this
so,
dog.
and we do all raw and all that stuff, and we do organic. My wife made tacos last night. And she went out in the backyard and clipped the cilantro that we grow, and all of that stuff. So it's a lifestyle,
Were you playing when you were playing? You were eating like this too?
When I was playing, it was. I'm from Cali, so organic, and I love sourdough and fresh orange juice. Like now, I don't even drink K cups anymore because of the
The
exposure
aluminum.
and all that stuff. So we have coffee, fresh brewed coffee. Like everything for me, health wise, I try to maintain it.
What kind of diet are you on right now? Is there?
When I first retired, I was on the I don't care diet, right?
Yeah.
But now, kind of getting back to things, just organic. I don't eat pork. Like we do turkey bacon and we do beef bacon. We get our meat actually from a local farm here in Charlotte.
Which
We get
farm is that?
I think it's called Watson Farms.
I gotta check it out. Is that like you're buying a cow or a half a cow type thing and you take
A
the
half a
meat?
cow is $1,800, bro.
Yeah. You want to split a cow with me?
I don't. I have to get a bigger freezer.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of room.
Yeah, but we do. They come twice a week to the house. Got a cooler out on the porch, and my wife orders it. And we do the eggs we get, man, they so fresh, we got to wash them. They still got bird poop on them.
I love it. We're in the same boat. My wife sounds like your wife. She keeps me in line. I got vitamin C.
You outkicked your coverage then.
What's that?
Like, I said you outkicked your coverage like me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. You kidding me? I got a young too. So yeah, high school sweethearts. Well, what? Okay. I was young too. We were both young.
He was I got young.
Everybody else noticed. Yeah, not that. Yeah. That's funny. Talk to me about you're happily retired. You've done well for yourself, business wise. You have a great charity that you started up. Talk to me about advice that you give, athletes when they decide they're going to retire, and some of the things that you did for yourself to make that transition.
I was unique, and I had a little ADD. I took some internships in my off season. I internship with some financial firms. I internship with a radio station, which led to me doing media. I actually tried to intern with Pepsi and UPS, but they told me no.
Wow.
And so I was always interested in learning stuff, and that's why I was saying that, I don't have any degrees, but I interned with Morgan Stanley for 2.5 years. Interned with the radio station. I'm currently thinking about I might audit some classes at some colleges down here in Charlotte to be able to get. I love data, so to be able to do that, and so thinking of looking at some other stuff that I want to do, and then obviously my foundation. We build our programs based on some of the things that I've experienced as a kid. It wasn't my dad, but it was my mom's husband. He was abusive, so domestic violence, helping organizations, and then also we're opening up a mental health facility here in Charlotte as well. That started construction, which would be outpatient. We have a free medical clinic that's closed currently right now because we're renovating and opening up some space that's going to be an urgent care for the uninsured.
Nice.
We were doing insured and all that stuff, but we've shifted our focus and partnered with some people that are going to do uninsured urgent care, and it's been up for about 6 years on Central Avenue, and so we're shutting it down to do some renovations, and dealing with that, because I experienced, lack of insurance. And so what that did, so all of our programs and then we have after school program for kids who have barriers of homelessness, right? So we're doing that. So, we're, for me, business wise, doing a lot of things, but doing it based off what I'm comfortable with. And then I do some housing and real estate stuff here. And it's I've been doing that for about almost 4 years now, own about 26 properties.
Damn.
And so doing that. And so it's been fun. And it's never fun evicting some people, but sometimes it happens based off.
Do you actually manage some of them? Like, do you actually deal with it? Or do you have a management company?
So I have a management company that deals with it, but when the tenant's not in there and when the unit's being rehabbed, like I'm building a unit right now, and like I picked the colors, I picked the flooring, I picked the cabinet colors, I picked the painting, I personally ordered the light fixtures. One of the cool things is every unit, that new build that I have, it's on a slab. And so I put a Bible in the slab, and then sometimes my kids do it, but I do it too. Mainly is I write scripture on the framing, right? And so I feel like, that God's blessed me. And so putting the Bible in the foundation and then having scripture behind the walls. And so just little unique things like that I do. And it's been really fun, man. And I've lived a lot of different lives in sports, but also in business. And it's been cool. I've learned a lot.
That's amazing. When did you start? Were you always a Christian, like and devout?
Oh no, I was a hellion. I was not always a
I was a demon.
Just as you get older, you start to realize that it's not you, right? You start to realize that some of the things that I've been through and what I've gone through and what I will continue to go through, it's a blessing. And but I really try not to be a Bible, hit you over the head with the Bible. I try to make it to where when you're intimately sitting down with people and they can say, what's different about you? And I say, what's different about me and what I experience is, is this blessing that I received from this guy that you never could see him, you never could feel him. But if you sit in your quiet time, if you sit by yourself quiet enough, it's the small little voice who's talking to you, who's nudging you, who's telling you don't, who's telling you yes, who's telling you what about this. And so, that's how I try to, what I've tried to do with my religion, my businesses, all that stuff is I try to let my work speak for itself versus my actions. And so a lot of times I try to make it seem like I don't really have much going on because that seems a little bit easier, and for me, it seems a little safer.
Yeah, but it's also being humble, right? Like walking quietly and carrying a big stick. That's a Teddy Roosevelt thing. That's the only quote I have from anybody. So yeah, I like that. I think it's important. Like someone who's going around telling everybody how much money they have and all these different things they're doing. It's usually they got something that, they're hiding. They're probably not doing, as much as that they're leading on. There's like insecurity there.
Yeah.
You definitely come off as a super humble dude who I know for a fact, moving to Charlotte, you are so well respected out here. Like it's ridiculous. From what you do with your foundation and how you carried yourself as a player, if you had to mention one name from this area that sticks out, that is, this dude's the man around here, it is Steve Smith.
Well, I appreciate it. Man, I try to keep myself, a little bit reserved and private, just so it doesn't come across the wrong way is kind of like at times the way I play ball. You
I
know,
hear you.
sometimes I kind of like to make it seem like, I don't have anything. I'm broke and just kind of, my kids will laugh sometimes at me. I'm like, I can't afford that. They be like, Dad, really? I'm like, well, I don't want to pay for it.
I love it. All right, brother. I really appreciate you doing this.
No problem, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I look forward to hanging out with you and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please let us know in the comments below. Won't Back Down is also available as a podcast, so feel free to give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts.